As a young child, I grew up in a very violent house, a house that was more than dysfunctional. My father was a very abusive man. He beat the hell out of my mom, my siblings, and I. His belt would leave welts upon our skin and bruises that were permanent. At the age of 4, I was molested by an older family member, and it continued on for quite some time before he was ever caught. By the time I was 6, my parents divorced, but the abuse was carried on by my mother and stepfather for many years after that. A few years passed, and I was placed into the foster care system for the very first time at the age of 14. No more than a child wandering the halls of a stranger's home. I migrated between a few different foster placements before the court decided to place me with my father. Just over a year later, I was no more than the same girl. Lost, empty, and broken. On December 25th of 2016, I attempted suicide for the very first time, and even again as of recent. You see, even after the physical wounds had healed, my heart was still bruised. I just wanted to die. I had nowhere to go, no family, no place to call home. Fast forward, I was then a 16-year-old kid, trapped inside of the foster care system yet again. And that broke me. That was hard. And the more that I looked at the situation that I was in, I hated it. I was hopeless. Many kids who go throughout the foster care system become lost in time. They become trapped in the idea that they are unworthy of another human being's time, effort, and energy. They grow up believing that they are unworthy of any kind of love, care, or affection. And as a result, they start to believe that they don't belong in this world, that they'll never find their fit. And that's not okay with me. These are kids that we're talking about. Kids that are growing up without anybody to call mom or dad. Young adults that have nobody to look up to. Nothing to look forward to. And nobody to turn to when their life is falling apart. Everybody that they have come into contact with up to this point has either left them or they have been violently deprived of the one person who actually cared about them. These kids, teenagers, and young adults were deprived of the essentials of a human being. They were stripped of their childhood, of their dignity. We failed them. Their parents failed them. And most of all, the system failed them. They were failed to be shown their worth, their purpose, their importance to the world around them. They were put through a type of pain and trauma that can't be healed no matter the time, therapy, or medication. They will live in the ruins of their pain for years to come. And as if that isn't bad enough, as if their life isn't already a pile of ashes, the remains of what is and was and could have been, they get put through the system. See, that's the problem, though. The system is broken. Although I'm not quite sure that broken is the correct word, because for something to be broken, that would imply that it was once functional. These kids are put in house after house after house after house to live with complete strangers. And the second that they step foot into those houses, those strangers somehow become their new parents. They only get a few moments to become familiar with these new places before they're supposed to call them home. And then they're left all alone to yet again figure it out for themselves. Yet years down the road, we start to wonder why they have picked up these traits that we now see as toxic and detrimental. Traits that at one point or another kept them alive, even if it was just for a few more moments until help could arrive. Unfortunately, though, help doesn't always come for everyone. There's not always a hero to save each and every child from the villain in their lives, from the monsters who creep through the halls at night. Now, I can't speak for each and every child, teenager, or young adult. But if I had to sum up my journey throughout the foster care system, it would be this. I have passed throughout house after house after house without ever finding myself a family or a place to call home. I've only dirtied the walls along the way. Or at least that's what I used to think until I met a different group of people. See, it doesn't matter where you came from, where you are, or where you plan on going. We all have obviously not had a past like that. But we all have had trials, tribulations, and struggles. But none of it matters if you don't have that person in your corner. None of it matters if you don't have that person to turn to when you don't want to fight anymore. When you've had a long day and you just want to throw the towel in. Or perhaps you're just like the thousands of other people out there who are lost. Charles R. Swindoll, a pastor, once said that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. We can't always control the things that happen in our lives. Bad things will happen. But here's how we can manage them. Step 1, you've got to find your person. Find that person who takes the time to devote time, effort, and energy into you. And not because they have to, but because they choose to. Find that person who's going to hold your hand when you've had a bad day. That person who's going to be there to catch you when it feels like the world is crumbling around you and it feels like you can't breathe. Find that person who's going to pick you up off of the floor again and again and again. And if by chance you don't currently have anyone in your life that you can find as such, seek them out. Step 2, you've got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive yourself for every wrongdoing, for every past mistake. You got to forgive yourself for giving away your power and for silencing your voice deep within, for doing what you had to do just to survive. You've got to forgive yourself for the lost hours of sleep, for the tears shed for those who aren't worth it, and for the heartache and pain that you put yourself through every time that you believed that they changed and then they didn't. Just simply forgive yourself. And finally, step 3, you've got to rewrite your story. You've got to rewrite it in such a way that the ending is what you envision for yourself. You are the writer in this journey called life, so pick up the pen, put the ink to the page, and begin writing the most wonderful, beautiful story of your life. Whatever you may see for yourself, whatever your vision may be, you have the power to pursue it. You may have been through hell and back, but you are alive and breathing, so damn it, act like it. Every person needs that one positive, influential person in their life. A teacher of mine once said, "You finally started to find the voice that's been trapped inside of you for far too long. And now you just have to learn how to use it." A little while later, a different instructor reminded me that our job is to care and not to cure. And although I didn't know what either of those things meant at the time, I think that I'm just now starting to learn. Over the better half of the last 2 years, I have met 9 positive people in my life, all influential in their own wonderfully unique ways. And if it wasn't for them, I would be just another statistic like many other foster kids out there. Or worse, I would be dead. Sadly, I believe that if those kids had just one adult, like that of my 9, that their life would have been completely different. I encourage you, if you can be that adult for someone else, whatever that may look like, to do it because it really does make a lifelong impact. You could be that next adult to save a child like me from becoming just another statistic, from going down the wrong path, from ending up dead, or becoming so lost in this world that they never find their way back. So I will leave you with this. Find your person, forgive yourself, and begin rewriting your story. Thank you.